my dear sirs, welcome back. I want to thank you all for joining me again on this sinful occasion. Recently, I did a video on Lord of the Rings. Well, I was saying it was one of the best masterpieces that we have gotten from J.R.R. Tolkien that was made over 20 years ago. 20 years of love that still to this day is an unbridled masterpiece that we all fell in love with. But if it's one thing, my dear sinners, that we can always anticipate with the wonderful world of Hollywood, it's that they can never get too much of a good thing. Even though as beautiful as the Lord of the Rings trilogy was by Peter Jackson, that was made back in 2001, December specifically, they had to continue this legacy and go on with The Hobbit. With a lot of controversy coming around as to why The Hobbit was not as good as well received as the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Well, my dear sinners, go ahead and pop a knee down on the ground and let Mister Sinister tell you a tale. Oh, my dear sinners, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe, leave a comment down below on what you loved more. And now, my sinners, let's have some Bible. The Hobbit was an original story that came back out in 2012. Martin Freeman did a great job playing Bilbo Baggins, and you brought your original cast members back as Ian McKellen for Gandalf. A simple premise of a simple story of Bilbo Baggins learning how he got the ring. A simple story where even some people didn't like Radagast the Brown, one who was a key character in the books that J.R.R. Tolkien wrote specifically. The movie itself just shows simple concepts of even how Bilbo got Sting, his journey, how he met Thor Oakenshield, and the big baddie who was upset at Thor Oakenshield, all because he decided to cut his arm off. Now, don't get me wrong, if you cut my arm off, I'd be a little pissy too, but not as pissy as this big asshole right here. Even when you bring Peter Jackson to do these movies, the understanding and you can't deny the simple beauty of this world is just incredible. Visuals were exceptional, storytelling was good, but even the problem is that even he didn't understand is why is this movie being made? It's made because Hollywood decided to pack this thing tough and tight. It was packed so hard that they released The Desolation of Smaug exactly 1 year later. J.R.R. Tolkien, my dear sinners, wrote the Lord of the Rings trilogy in 3 books, which came out to about 1,200 pages total. The Hobbit book that Tolkien wrote was only 300 pages. How in God's ass do you expect to stretch trilogy of The Hobbit of only one 300-page book? Well, my dear sinners, this is where Mister Sinister begins the downward spiral of The Hobbit. Long, drawn-out CGI battles that are pointless. Long, drawn-out CGI battles that are pointless, that are overly drawn, and used. These fucking eagles again. Which, to be fair, could have been used and solved this whole goddamn thing, but then we wouldn't have a fucking story. So, here we are. And if you already know the story of The Hobbit, then you're going to understand when you saw the movie that Legolas was in it. Fucking why? Writers had no idea what to do, and they needed to bring 3 movies from 1 book. So yeah, we'll just put Legolas back in. I'm certainly not one for my own sinister self not to give credit where credit is due. Orlando Bloom was born to play this role and absolutely nailed it. He can only work with what he had. I think that's going to be one of the biggest comparisons that people are going to notice. The depth of the characters. The Lord of the Rings, you knew who your characters were and you felt for them like real human beings. You understood their plot. You understood their pain, their suffering. And when you saw these characters in The Hobbit, it was overly drawn out, overly preached, and felt used. I mean, Jesus Christ, they stuffed The Hobbit more than Riley Reid. As all good things must come to an end, my dear sinners, with 1 year later they released The Battle of the Five Armies. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm not like giving him any more credit than I have to. At this point, all these years later, we're already just feeling that this is a blatant CGI built fuckfest. Smaug could have been a very interesting character. He's a dragon that likes a bunch of gold. That's it. That's your main antagonist. A greedy fucking dragon who likes gold. Come on. What do you expect to do with this shit? This is something that I honestly got to give Peter Jackson credit for, because this is the clear and simple case of the man just had to work with what he had. It wasn't much. It was stretched out, overly used. And don't get me wrong, some of the visual effects were nice. It's a beautiful world in this stage. But when this becomes this stuff, this padded, it's going to dilute, and you're just not going to end up getting a shit. Now, what did Mister Sinister think about the Hobbit trilogy? I can honestly say it was okay. It was not the best, and certainly overused and overly dramatized, but the world itself, I just enjoy so much. These are things that a lot of people need to keep in mind, that even though Peter Jackson did what he could, it was stretched way too thin. And even so, the way we feel about this dumpster fire is the way things are turning. We can appreciate the work that was put into it. It may not have been the best. It may not be for you, but the world itself is what we can all appreciate. If they would have just given us one movie from The Hobbit, 3 hours, maybe even 3.5 hours, this would have done us a world of good and would have been better received. But now, unfortunately, Lord of the Rings was put on the casting couch and it was cream pied into oblivion. Thank you again, my dear sinner, for bearing with me to watch these videos and appreciate the content and love that you've been giving me. I do appreciate all of you. And there's a special place in my blackened little heart for you that I'll keep with me right in the gates of hell. Until then, my dear sinners, until we meet again. Plus, it's not like Lord of the Rings is going to keep continuing, right? Oh, wait a minute. What the fuck?